So I finally got a chance to play that Lost Planet Xbox Live demo last night. It's tough but fair. Were you able to beat it yet?
Yeah, it was nice to have something to go back to after E3 was over to actually play. I beat one of the stages, but not the second one.
Right.
The first stage, I finally did get to the boss, and it took me about, I don't know, 5 tries, 6 tries. And when I did beat the boss, I felt like really, really, really good about myself, because it was really tough. You had to like jump all around using your grappling hook to go off walls and all that sort of thing. The gameplay seems pretty simple at this point. It's pretty much run and shoot some bugs and then, fight a boss here and there. That doesn't seem that much. I mean, if you're looking for more like adventure elements, it doesn't really reward exploration that much.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just like a shooter, So
Yeah, I mean, it's only a 2-level demo, so it's kind of early, but
I agree.
Like, one thing that I really like about it is the role that the environment plays in gameplay. Like, you're always surrounded by the snow, and it's like swirling around you and kind of affecting, your visibility. And then you've got like this powered energy suit, and it's constantly ticking down when you're out in the environment. So that could be kind of a cool mechanic. I mean, it could be kind of a pain in the ass too if you're always worried about running out of energy.
If you are constantly kind of monitoring it and thinking about it, and as long as you play well, you can pretty much keep it maxed out, I found, which is cool. Like, if I'm paying attention to it, I should be able to keep it pretty high. The explosions, and specifically like the grenades, I don't really like how they just feel like they lob a bit too much. I like my grenades to throw a little bit faster and farther,
Yeah, you don't really feel like you have much control over where it's going.
Exactly.
But when it blows up, it looks sweet.
It looks sweet, but then it doesn't feel like it does anything. Like, you'll like shoot a exploding barrel or something, and there's this giant awesome explosion, and then all the guys who you thought you were trying to kill like just run out of the explosion and come and attack you.
Another thing that's kind of cool is that, there are these mechs that you find like partway through levels that you can climb in. They're kind of like exoskeletons.
Right.
And then they've got these huge guns that you can rip off and run around with as you're like a little dude.
Yeah, that's
like,
really cool.
Swap them in with other mechs that you find later on. So
yeah, I was having fun with those. Like, I'd fight in a mech for a while until it was just about to explode, and then like hop out, grab the rocket launcher off the side, and like try to attack the final boss or whatever. It's a little bit harder, of course, because you can't move while you're firing the giant guns, but it looks really cool. He's carrying them all low and they look heavy. The other guns are like the main weapons that you hold when you're on foot are pretty simple: assault rifle, shotgun, sniper rifle. There's an energy gun, but it's not that interesting. I like that it takes your thermal energy away rather than actual bullets, but it's still...
Yeah, I mean, you could charge it up and it would do a homing shot, but
especially, and it seems like they give it to you in rooms, like there's that really cool like hive area.
Yeah.
It's really nice looking, but then they give you the energy gun, and there's just too many guys to shoot. You're better off holding a shotgun or a assault rifle at that point. Yeah. And again, I wish the grenades worked better in there.
But you got that grappling hook too, which is cool for like kind of getting around the environment. But I wish you could use that like offensively, like grab someone like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
That would be cool.
Reel him in and shoot him.
I wish you could do like double jumps with the grappling hook and like actually ascend higher buildings, and like they rewarded exploration more. I think that would be really cool. Or I wonder if they're going to be like grappling hook upgrades or ability upgrades later in the game that expand your abilities, and it's not just you grabbing new weapons and guns for your mechs or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I hope there's another level of RPG upgrades in there somewhere that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I was sitting in on EGM's interview with Kaiji Inafune, the director of this game, and the guy from Mega Man.
Right.
All that Onimusha and stuff. Yeah, and he kind of went on a diatribe against Japanese gamers. He was saying that they kind of all like the same kind of games, and they just want the same thing over and over, and that if they don't kind of broaden their taste, the the developers who make games that appeal to the Japanese market are just going to kind of wither and die.
Yeah, because they're not going to
So-
sell outside of the territory,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, he's definitely like putting his money where his mouth is, you know, with this and Dead Rising. And,
Yeah, it's cool. I actually, pretty impressed. Ever since Resident Evil 4, it seems like Capcom is making a concerted effort to actually change the fact that, you know, they're known for milking every series to its like absolute death. Yeah, Dead Rising looks cool. Lost Planet seems really cool, and hopefully we'll see more great stuff like that from them in the future.
So remember when we first heard about Mass Effect, I remember being kind of disappointed because I was like, BioWare, come on, what's going on? It looks so generic.
There was a trailer in February.
Yeah.
Because coming out of the show, everyone's been saying great things about it, and then I think a lot of the
Right.
feedback has been, there's no video, why not? And the old video doesn't
Right.
look that great.
Right.
Because it was kind of ambiguous and didn't. Now they've gone into the story a little bit more and about the whole robots coming back to harvest mankind and everything.
Right.
It kind of makes a little more sense now.
They lost the Star Wars license, or they decided not to work on it, but they were
Mhm.
like, you know what, we're just going to make our own Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Make our own world.
In
And
fact,
it's
there was
going
a
to be
scene in what they
beautiful.
demoed that was very George Lucas, and it was when you walk into the bar,
Yeah.
it worked really well.
It does. And I love the design of the aliens,
Mhm.
at least like the 3 or so that we saw in the
Yeah, even the
demo.
humanoid stuff isn't completely humanoid. Like, there's the one guy who's in your party has this sort of reptilian face armor thing, and he only has
Yeah.
3 fingers, and so they're definitely messing with it a bit more than they were
Right.
able to with the Star Wars stuff. Did you see the combat?
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I mean, it went from being KOTOR to being Ghost Recon.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And
Like
you
the
c-
whole addition of like squad tactics.
Yeah, you sort of pause the action, and it sends the camera into the room, and you can see where the robots are dropping in, and then you can put markers where you want your guys to go, and then you go back, and then it turns back into the over-the-shoulder action thing.
Right.
And it worked really well. I mean, it's really significant that the body language in the game is so good. It's all in real time, and there's a conversation with a girl in the casino, and as you're talking to her, you can see her face is changing, and she starts to frown. But they're rendering the eyes so accurately that you can see the reflections in their eyes. So even if you can't see them because they're in darkness, you can see when their eyes move, and they lock you in eye contact as they're talking to you.
Which is really powerful.
And it's really, what's more powerful is when you notice when they're not looking at you anymore.
They want you to feel very emotionally involved in the conversation. The whole way the conversation goes with like these, instinctive choices rather than this is exactly what I'm going to say, but this is sort of how I feel.
It's very cinematic, the conversation system.
That's
so
true. The camera
it'll like
is
pan the
cinematic.
camera around, and as he's getting more aggressive, because there's one of the conversations where the most aggressive option was you could pull your gun, and he has his gun sort of in the small of his back. So he's like talking with his hand like this, and he starts to threaten her, and he pulls the gun out, and as he pulls it out, it pans the camera around to him, and you can see your character locking the other person, and it's like all the facial expression changes, and that was really powerful stuff. You can be any race, any sex, you can change anything about the characters and change the skill set,
Yeah.
and then sort of save them off as a separate thing, which is, I'm glad they did that rather than just sort of dropping you into a single guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to preserve that character through
Yeah.
all the sequels and all the episodic content that they said they were going to start
Yeah.
releasing too.
So you've got the main story, which they're saying is 30 to 40 hours, depending on your ability.
Yeah.
And then there's all this side stuff, which isn't as structured as they're not quest lines necessarily. They're sort of stories that you can drop into, and you'll find an item that's relevant, and then you have to sort of work out where it fits in the overall story. So I don't know. It sounded a little loose. You need this sort of sense of progression through the side stories as well, or you're just gonna kind of feel like, well, I went off and I found some stuff, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it, so I went back to the main story.
Yeah, there's a danger in being too vast, I
Yeah.
think. So maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
Like Morrowind was, I thought. Maybe
Yeah, a little
too
bit.
vast, yeah. But, yeah, do you think the BioWare guys play Oblivion?
I hope so.
someone told me that was running on GameCube, I would have said, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause it looked, I mean, visually.
Someone would have told me it was a level from the original Metroid Prime that I just missed that was unlockable.
Yeah.
You bomb a certain spot. I would have believed them.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of visuals, I mean, we all knew they weren't going to be so much better, but I was looking for something a little bit different, like
Yeah.
a little bit more high res. I mean, just like I maybe I was looking really fast, but I couldn't tell any difference between that. I mean,
Right.
Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 look great already, but
Right.
like.
Well, so what I think what Nintendo would say to that is, yeah, but the control,
Yeah.
the big difference this time is the control. So what did you think about the control? Because it was great in a lot of circumstances, but there was one part of the demo where things were revolving around you really fast that should not have been in a
if
demo.
You're just standard going forward and shooting guys
Yeah.
left and right, it was fine. But when you have like a 360 degrees and you have to really spin around real fast, that's when I kind of had trouble a little bit. Sure, like I
Right.
used the lock-on feature, but like
So
that's
the lock-on feature is interesting how it works because you have to highlight what it is that you want to lock
yeah,
onto, then you hold
lock,
it down,
and
and
lock, and then you can.
the trick is you turn by pushing
Yeah.
the reticle against the edge of the screen. And apparently, I didn't do this myself, but I heard expert mode. If you do that, it's way more sensitive, and that's kind of how you want to do it.
And I wonder if it's just because this is our first time really playing the game.
I think it's a little bit
because
of
that was
that.
my first game I played on the Wii.
Yeah.
It was the first game I played, and I was kind of still getting. At first, I didn't have a problem. Then when they got 360 degrees, when I had guys behind me, stuff.
And it's
I
kind
had a
of,
little hard
for
time.
whatever reason, like all the buttons, it's kind of like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. Like I kept hitting the button to jump instead of the button to roll into a ball, or I kept hitting the button to roll into a ball instead of the lock-on button. There was a little bit of that. But I will say, the most exciting part of that demo, which everyone laughs when I talk about it, but it's opening that door.
That when you
have
actually
your
see
Wii
the
controller,
hand and you turn,
yeah,
and you pull it back.
pull it back, turn it, and push it
That
back
was-
in.
See, that's a game where like I feel like with Zelda it was kind of really tacked on with all the stuff, but like it actually in Metroid Prime when they put the Wii functions in there, like it adds to the gameplay. Like
Right.
the fact of like take the nunchuck, you throw it out with your grappling beam to grab the enemy's shield, and then you pull it back.
Yeah.
Like that stuff was cool with the arm. Like so those I feel like they were more integrated into the like new gameplay mechanics. Whereas like in Zelda it's just like the arrow and the boomerang.
Even though it was Ridley again, the Ridley boss fight was pretty awesome.
Oh,
it
I
was
mean,
pretty
Metroid
dramatic.
always has pretty awesome boss
Yeah.
fights, and like it'll be fun. I think
But I
it
don't
went on too long.
I don't think that just the new control is enough. I think the game needs. Metroid Prime 2 was already pushing that same formula. It needs something else new. We'll see if we get
Yeah,
that.
and they got to do something completely different with multiplayer.
Right. Yeah. For God's sake. Or don't
Or just don't do
include
it at all.
Like
Just don't
I'd
do it at
rather
all.
not have it.
Exactly.
Clearly, pirates are more fragile than they appear. Your next objective should be getting that generator back online. I'll go on ahead and clear the way to the other generators.
I love R2. No, I really don't like R2.
Yeah, R-Tune. Have they done anything good ever?
Well, they did Pinobi.
Pinobi was kind of okay, except
Not good.
Did you play the PlayStation one? It was like
Yeah.
having your eyeballs dragged over broken glass.
And then they made Blinks 1 and then Blinks 2.
Blinks 1 was okay. Blinks 2 was like for retarded infants. The entire game was like, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. It was like having the Colonel call you in Metal Gear Solid 2 throughout the entire game.
And they even made a pretty bad Yoshi game for GBA, which was
Yoshi
Yoshi's
Topsy-Turvy. Yeah.
Not good.
That was kind of like... was kind of like a crime. Like, it made Yoshi's story look really awesome.
But despite this legacy of like terrible games, Yoshi's Island 2, Secret Neighbor Artoon, awesome. I love it.
I like the fact that it's on DS, but it doesn't do any DS gimmickry
Well,
stuff.
it does use both screens for
It uses
gameplay.
both screens, but I mean, it's got to do that.
Doesn't have to.
Well, no, it could have like a big happy picture of Yoshi at the top.
But, you
Since one of the powers that Yoshi can have is to get the princess on his back, Princess Peach,
Right.
and she has the parasol that can catch on updrafts and shoot her up to higher levels. It makes sense to have that upper screen used for gameplay
Right.
space.
And the other new addition is baby Donkey Kong, who can climb vines.
Yeah, I kept seeing vines throughout the game, and I didn't realize you could
Yeah.
get Donkey Kong until I was at the very end, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's what the vines are for.
But as much as I do like it, I'm happy that it's really a lot like the old game. Like the level design, you're like finding keys, you're fighting big
Oh, yeah.
monsters.
I mean,
it
you
doesn't
have-
venture very far.
There's 5
from,
flowers, 20 red coins,
Yeah.
30 stars.
I was happy that it doesn't venture far because Artoon could have totally like screwed it up by adding all sorts of weird elements.
Yeah, I mean,
and-
it's obviously not as fresh or innovative as Yoshi's Island was at the time, but I mean, it just looks like a really solid sequel,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
sometimes that's nice.
more of the same. I'm totally okay with it in this instance.
The graphics look a little, they look a little redesigned. Like Yoshi has the black outline,
Right.
which is apparently de rigueur for any portable game character. But besides that, it still has that kind of like, I don't know, funky child's drawing style with the
Definitely.
warping and scaling enemies and the
I
rotation.
thought it looked better than New Super Mario Bros. Actually. But speaking of DS, the best DS game I thought was Castlevania: Portrait of Ruin.
I agree. In fact, One Up voted that the best DS game at the show.
Rightfully so.
It's a sequel to Bloodlines, which took place throughout Europe.
Right. This is World War II Europe. There's a level that's in like a desert.
Right.
I saw that.
I was really hoping that it would be more like Simon's Quest in style, but I asked him about that. You know, is it going to be like this big open free roaming world? And it's not. He says he's never actually really played Simon's Quest that
Right.
much. He doesn't like it, and he doesn't like the NPCs that were in the game because they just confused you.
Yeah, this is more like levels you pick off a map that
Yeah.
are not connected necessarily, but I'm cool with that because you know they've been doing the same big castle for like 4 games in a row.
Well, he says by the end of the game it's one big map, so I'm kind of assuming that there's some way to get
It all
around the map.
connects.
You know, like how in Super Metroid you eventually found past shortcuts that took you
Right.
from one place to another.
But
as
also
long as it's
just,
fun.
just the graphics, there's a lot more 3D elements in the background, and plus the screen looks so good on the DS Lite. It's really
well,
bright.
just about every enemy that I saw in the demo was new or redesigned. Like the skeletons are still the same,
Right.
but the peeping eye is now polygonal. It flies around and rotates and spins. There were all kinds of new enemies I've never seen before, like the big jellyfish thing that was flying at you and bled to death when you
Right.
attacked it. The guy with a little sniper gun who.
Oh, and you see like how it's gonna bounce off the
you can
walls.
see
That
which
was
way his
great.
shots are going to ricochet, so you have to duck and avoid
it's just,
those.
You know, it's instantly fun, great gameplay, good graphics, good music, depth. There's like everything you want out of a Castlevania. And, you know, some people get upset that they keep churning these out, but me personally, I can do one of these a year.
I asked Igarashi what it's going to take to keep Castlevania fresh for another 20 years, and he said that he always tries to add new elements to each game he creates, but he thinks that the series needs a drastic overhaul sometime soon. So I'm kind of curious to see what he has in mind. I asked him if he thought that was like something he'd do on the Wii, and he said, no, the Wii is for casual gamers, and Castlevania is more hardcore. So
But the problem is, like, you know,
I have no
they've
idea.
tried a few 3D things on consoles, and none of them have really taken. We all still just kind of want.
You know,
Symphony of the Night
I
again.
almost took a copy of New Super Mario into my interview with him and said, see, you can do 3D graphics, which Sony likes, but have 2D gameplay that's really fun. It's like a
Yeah, pure
platformer.
2D platformer with 3D graphics, Castlevania next gen. I mean, I don't think that
I'd be all over that.
probably can't happen, but if it did, I'd be all over that too.
Castlevania.
Well, Lunar Nights is it's a gothic vampire adventure that's also set with a mix of a sci-fi theme, but it's pretty grim. I mean, the story is based off of this idea that vampires have taken over the world and that they've enslaved humans just to suck blood out of them. Some people were kind of surprised that this game is coming from Kojima Productions because it's not military based or it's not starring Solid Snake or one of those kind of characters. But I think this is the beginning of something new with the studio, and you're getting to see a lot more, I don't know, diverse lineup, more dynamic lineup from the studio. This is just the beginning, I think.
Give us some examples about what the day and night cycles and the weather, and how does that actually affect the gameplay itself? Like, what happens, what does one thing trigger in another?
Depending on the weather, you're going to want to change your character. So there's actually two main characters in the game. There's Lucian, who's like this dark character who's powered by the moon, and there's Aaron, who's a lighter character, and he's powered by the sun. So you can swap instantaneously between them by pushing the select button on the DS. So that really affects the gameplay because, and also depending on what monster you're fighting, you might want to use Lucian, who wields a sword, or you might want to use Aaron, who uses guns. And he's got these two, like John Woo style guns. He just goes sidearm, just like Milky would if he was in a game, I think.
Yeah, I would.
All right, but and also it's not just the sun and moon, but we also have, like I was saying, rainstorms and thunderstorms, and that affects the gameplay as well. So if it's raining down, puddles will start collecting on the ground, and it'll lift up blocks that will let you cross over to previously inaccessible areas. Thunderstorms will, like a lightning strike will light up the bottom screen, and it'll reveal an item that was hidden in the shadows. Windstorms will let you kind of fly across a cliff and things like that. So yeah, we have so many different ideas about how to use the top screen, and I mean that's like the basic concept of Lunar Nights, is just using the DS as best as we can.
So how big of a game would you say it is, and how open-ended? Do you want to continue these quests in a certain order so that you can progress the storyline, or is it more casual so that you can go and fulfill all these side quests for whatever reason?
Yeah, there's gonna be side quests and like sub scenarios, but yeah, it is linear in the sense that there's gonna be like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. But the way that we're mixing it up is at the end of stage 1, it's gonna run into this 3D shooting section that we're really excited about, and it's been actually a big hit in the studio. So now we're thinking of actually having that instead of in between each stage, like each stage of action RPG action, like it could be selectable from the main menu. So if you just want to play 3D shooting, you can, because like we're integrating more and more gameplay elements into it, like power-up items and cool boss characters in there, and it's like kind of coming up into its own as a standalone gameplay feature. And where we just thought it was something that would mix up the action RPG stuff and just give the player a little bit of variety, but now it's becoming much more bigger than that. There's a lot of creative things you can do with the DS.
It's nice to see people actually start to take advantage of the hardware and do stuff that isn't just, like you said, just a port.
Right, that's the key. I mean, if you're going to do a DS title, you really need to take advantage of the hardware, and if you don't, you almost have a guaranteed failure unless it's some really, really big franchise or a kiddie franchise where people only care about the license. And one thing that you're going to see coming out of Kojima Productions, and this is pretty exciting for the studio, is that with Lunar Nights, the translation is going to be incredible. The English is going to look like, it's not going to seem like it came from Japan. And just like the MGS4 trailer this time, I think the English is I don't think Metal Gear has ever been this good.
国家や思想のためではない。利益や民族のためでもない。金で雇われた傭兵部隊と作られた無人兵器が果てしない代理戦争を繰り返す。命を消費する戦争は合理的な痛みのないビジネスへと変貌した。戦争は変わった。ID 登録された兵士たちは ID 登録された武器を持ち ID 登録された火を使う。体内のナノマシンが彼らの能力を助長し管理する。遺伝子の制御、情報の制御、感情の制御、戦場の制御、全ては監視され統制されている。戦争は変わった。時代は抑止から制御へと移行し、大量破壊兵器によるカタストローフは回避された。そして戦場の制御、歴史のコントロールをも可能にした。戦争は変わった。戦場が制御管理された時、戦争は不変のものとなった。
So, Mr. Kojima, one thing I'm really interested in, you're very famous for always researching before your games, traveling to the jungle and training and stuff like that. I know you've traveled for this game. I've seen the blog and stuff. I don't think you can say where it is that you've been exactly, but I'm curious what you learned there that surprised you and how it's affected the game.
ゲームに影響したとこはどこでしょうか。まずですね、去年5回ぐらい訓練を実際にしてですね、本当の特殊部隊の人たちと、寝食を共にして、チーム員も入れて、訓練をした結果、それがその経験が元でゲームデザインに反映するというか、今回もシステムを全て変更したんですけど、それはその訓練の結果を元でみんなで話し合った結果、あの時の経験を生かしたいっていうのでゲームデザインに反映するように決定したんで、非常に大きな経験でした。
Can you talk a bit about the stealth camouflage that we saw in the trailer when the watermelon rolls up to him? It's always been like an unlockable extra or a special feature in the other games. Will that be different in this game? Can you talk a little bit about your plans for it in Metal Gear Solid 4 in terms of gameplay?
ですね、戦場なので、隠れてる場所がずっとそこに永久にあるとは限らない。爆破されたり壊れたりしてなくなったりするということでノープレイストゥハイドっていうコンセプトを出したんですけども、そういう状況下で、自分を隠すための一つの手法ですね。3の時の、カモフラージュっていうのはどちらかというと、カメレオンみたいなものですね。背景にあった服を選んで見えにくくするっていうものでしたけども、今回のは、タコオクトパスのカモフラージュなので、色だけじゃなくて質感デコボコしたものも、コピーして見えないようになるという一歩進んだカモフラージュになりますね。
I'm sure you're getting this question a lot, but with the new functionality of the PS3 controller showing off the motion sensitivity, any ideas how we might see that used in Metal Gear Solid 4?
僕も最近教えていただいたんでこれからですけど、アイデアはいっぱいありますんで、これから変えて、仕様にしていくという作業に入ると思います。
I'm curious also, you mentioned how you want players, it's no accident that Snake is reflecting what's going on in your own life. You're both getting older, you're both still, one last mission, still battling. I'm curious what it means for your personal life to have Snake with a gun in his mouth at the end of the trailer. Does it have anything to do with your often stated credo that this will be your last Metal Gear game?
それはちょっと想像にお任せしますね。
でもこれが最後のメタルギアゲームになるとか、
そういう意味合いを込めているというか、僕が作るメタルギアソリッドはこれで終わりと。
一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。だが、俺にはまだやらなければならないことが残っている。最後に課せられた罰は、俺の遺伝子ミームをこの世から抹消すること。
これで終わりと。毎回いつも同じこと言ってますけど、早く死んでくれということですかね。
それが 俺に残された最後のミッション。
どちらかが死に、どちらかが生きる。生き残った者がボスの称号を受け継ぐ。そしてボスの名を継いだ者が終わりなき戦いにこぎ出していくの。
Everyone is excited. Finally, we have a real Metal Gear game. I mean, I love Metal Gear Acid, but a real Metal Gear game for the PSP.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I love Metal Gear, and I'm not into the Acid games at all.
Right.
Like, I know they're good. It's just not my type of game. But like, finally, it was weird when I asked Kojima a couple of years ago after Snake Eater, like, what would he like to do next?
Right.
Take place after Snake Eater for his next game, or do a follow up after Sons of Liberty? And it's weird. He actually ended up doing both. You know, MGS4 picks up after Sons of Liberty, and now, you know, Portal Blast picks up after Snake Eater. So it's what I wanted. I always wanted a real, you know, Metal Gear action game for the PSP.
よう久しぶりだなスネーク。いやビッグボスだったな。
ミスターシギント。
今回ばかりはあんた一人じゃ生きて帰るのは無理だ。味方を増やせ。仲間を集めるんだ。
It's cool that that they're using the digital comic for the digital comic style for the cutscenes. Like it, you know, so many times like people are definitely bored with just the text and even the cutscenes, like they go on real long. But those things are so dynamic, and it just seems to lend itself to that.
Yeah, I thought I
screen.
wasn't gonna like that. I was like, and then I saw the trailer again. I was like, you know what? That really fits the PSP better than like just those normal cutscenes that he does. And the game looks so freaking good.
Best looking PSP game
by
bar none. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like,
Best looking PS game I've ever
I mean,
seen.
I thought Monster Hunter looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is like just blows away. That looks like a PSP game to me.
お前は今までどれだけ失ってきた。そこまでして守るべき国とは一体何だ。
And we both played it, right?
Yeah,
You got a chance to play it. It was the multiplayer only.
Yeah. If you like Subsistence, you're gonna like it here. And if
I
you
would
don't-
agree with that,
And if you
yeah.
don't, that you
It's not gonna change your
It's not gonna
mind.
change your mind because the controls are still like I cheated playing the game. Like instead of using the D-pad to control the camera,
Yeah.
I would just use the lock-on feature, and it would
keep
autocorrect
spinning it around. Well, and that's how I played Subsistence
Yeah.
multiplayer. I think it's still broken, but it makes the transition to PSP pretty seamlessly. Being able to play that anywhere, I mean, it's definitely cool.
I mean, I was surprised. Like I knew nothing about this game before the show started. So like
None of us did.
So see that they're doing a single player game,
A
plus to do-
full-fledged single-player game, which
thank
by itself would be
God.
enough.
Yeah, like I think multiplayer for me is just a added bonus.
gravy,
like,
yeah.
but like if they can make the single player game just as well as they've done on the PS2, I mean, I'm sold. I'm sold on it. I mean, I'm really excited for it.
君が新しい舞台の長になるんだ。フォックスを狩る者、フォックスハウンドの誕生だ。
I don't wanna go to work today. Wanna stay home and play all my video games on the One Up Show. You know you'll be a star on the One Up Show. You already are. Every day, this life's a holiday. One up, 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 one up on the One Up Show. One up, 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 one up on the One Up Show.